Hello,
four.
hello. Week
Big
4
four.
answered by guess.
Let's
What's up
do
there,
it.
bro?
Hey, how we doing?
Doing well today, sir. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Pretty good. A little tired, a little excited. Let's get it going. We're gonna switch things up a little, right? We're gonna do the games, and then we're gonna answer all the questions at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So that way, in case anybody has to rewatch, the questions will start at the end and end at the end, even if they come in or if they were posted before. So you can skip right to that if need be.
Yep. Just remember, guys, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. Follow us. Guess. Let's go over your Thursday night recap, man.
All right. Thursday night pretty much went according to plan. The only one that really disappointed me, Chark got hurt. Marvin Jones didn't do much. Everybody else was pretty much as planned. It was a 3-point game. Said it would be a 4-point game. They left anywhere from 6 to 10 points on the field. I thought it would go over. It would have if they would have made the kick or gave it to James Robinson at the goal line instead of Trevor Lawrence trying to sneak it in. On the Tuesday show, I sort of revised my rookie quarterback ranking, and I had Trevor Lawrence at number 1 so far. Preseason, remember, I had him at 3. I think we're going to have to revisit that after this week. I feel like a couple of the other guys could do better. His read option is terrible. His scramble is terrible. He didn't do things as well as he should or could have. Bit disappointing watching the game, but it was a good Thursday night game, entertaining. That's all we can ask for as the appetizer.
Yeah, Burrow looked good in the second half. I don't know what was going on in the first half. That offense just wasn't clicking. But I really think, I wasn't a big fan of Burrow, and then as the year went along, before he got hurt, I was getting more and more. This kid's a leader, man. I think he went into the locker room, probably teared a new one into everybody, and was like, "Listen, guys, we're gonna win this game," and really came out firing, man.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Couple leagues we're in, you get 350 passing yards, you get a 5-point bonus. You got 348. Terrible.
That was tough. That was tough.
Stay on your feet, Azuma.
All right, let's jump into the first game here. Washington football team at the Atlanta Falcons. We always say Matt Ryan plays better at home. People are trying to trade Pitts. Everyone's saying buy low on Pitts right now. I was one of the guys. I think buying low on Pitts is probably a good idea. Do we actually see this against a Washington defense that really just hasn't been there this year? High expectations for them and just underwhelmed. Who else should we be looking at? Is it a Mike Davis kind of game? Does that front four kind of stop them? On the flip side, Heineke looks okay, man. I think he's played actually pretty well compared to, some of these second-year guys. He has Curtis Samuel coming back. How does that help or hurt Scary Terry? And does Curtis Samuel, there really hasn't been a number 2. Does he take over now for De'Ami Brown that really hasn't shown up? Only Gibson, or can we look at a McKissick today?
Yeah, this game's kind of crazy because Tuesday had a strong feeling that I felt like the Washington football team's defense would bounce back. I still kind of feel like, they'll make Ryan commit a couple turnovers, and also on the Tuesday show, I surrendered and I said, okay, Cordarrelle Patterson, I'm on board. But I got a feeling that Mike Davis is going to do a couple things today. I think that if they get close and when they get close, they're going to give it to him. I think they're going to use him more in the passing game. That's sort of been his thing, even when he was with the Niners and especially last year when he took over for CMC with the Panthers. Kind of get a feeling this is going to be, you're going to see Mike Davis catch at least 5 or 6 balls today, if not more. They're going to really look to utilize him to get the win at home against this front four of Washington, because I do think that they step up. They are still pretty decent against the run. It's been their secondary that's sort of been letting them down. And I think that Atlanta goes in this game utilizing Mike Davis in the pass game because that is a strength of his. Unfortunately, way too many people, almost everyone, is going to have Davis on their bench because of how he's performed. And then we're going to be talking on Tuesday about, I had Mike Davis on my bench. He's done nothing. I kind of feel like they're going to use him in the passing game to sort of beat this front four. So I actually think Mike Davis is a great DFS play today. If you've got better options at running back, then obviously you're already using them. But I would not be afraid to use Mike Davis. I just think, and the Kyle Pitts thing, I don't know. You're bailing a little too soon. You're forgetting he's a rookie tight end, even though they're using him as a wide receiver. He's been doing fine from a tight end position. Remember, we talked about it. And it's funny. I actually heard somebody say like the same exact thing I've been saying since the preseason on the radio. They said, if you're getting 3 for 34 from a tight end, like that's about as good as it gets. And I was like, oh my God, I've been saying that for weeks. And these guys get paid to do this. So, I mean, it's so true. And Pitts is typically better than that. As far as Washington goes, Gibson's banged up. We got to use Gibson. I'm using him in a couple leagues. I don't like it. You mentioned McKissick. I think today maybe we see Jarrett Patterson get involved a little more. He's been just sort of special teams. I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up a little. If Gibson, unfortunately, and fingers crossed he doesn't, happens to go down, you're going to see Patterson. So this is a position, a player, where if you've got an extra spot on your bench and somebody dropped him after doing nothing the first 3 weeks, you go and grab Jarrett Patterson, you put him on your bench just in case. Because if Gibson plays and he gets more hurt, then Patterson's going to be more involved. Patterson does something today. Because they're going to limit Gibson. He's going to be someone that somebody's going to go after when it's waivers next week. And Curtis Samuel, I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Ron Rivera never used him right in Carolina. Will he use him right here? It'll be interesting. It'll be good for them to have another weapon because, like you said, Diami Brown just hasn't done much. You don't shy away from Terry McLaurin. The secondary is atrocious for Atlanta. I would call them the second worst behind Tennessee in the league. They're going to be throwing the ball as much as possible. Terry McLaurin's going to have a nice bounce back game.
All right. I like it, man. I'm really hoping on Curtis Samuel. I've been keeping him in a couple of leagues as a just-in-case. But you're right, Ron Rivera didn't use him right. But maybe he watched last year being like, oh, that guy can do that.
Nice. Oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah. All right, jumping into the next one here. Houston Texans at Buffalo Bills. I think the spread on this one's what, 14.5, 15.5, something to that effect. But this Houston Texans team, the kid didn't look bad, man. Davis has actually played okay. Can he actually make this offense go a little bit? A lot of Cook's questions I've been seeing. Is Cook somebody you start? I think he is. I mean, the target share that he's getting alone, and then talk about the running back situation. On the flip side, Buffalo Bills should destroy. Does everybody eat? Is it a pick and choose kind of game? Or do they get up so big that maybe secondary guys are going to be utilized a little bit more? I see a lot of Knox questions as well. Talk about it.
Yeah, Davis Mills looked okay against Jacksonville. Buffalo at home is going to be a different beast. It'll be interesting to see how he does. I don't think you can sit Cooks, but if you're starting him and saying, his production's been great the first 3 weeks. Yeah, but Anthony Miller started to get involved. I think you play Cooks from a volume standpoint in this game. They're going to be down. Buffalo will be able to do what they want against this defense, and Cook's just going to be a volume play. Will they be able to shut down Cooks? Probably. And it will be unfortunate. And I'm playing Cooks in the one league that I own him in. I probably could play a better option, but I'm going to just take the volume and hope that, if he at least gets 50% of his targets, hopefully he could have like a 12-target game or something, and it'll make it worthwhile. But with the rookie quarterback going against a much tougher defense in a hostile environment, you just play the volume. You don't play the pass production with Cooks. Anthony Miller, you can't start him even from a volume standpoint. If this was week 5 and it was buys, then he would be someone we'd put a flyer on. But there's really no reason. The backfield is a headache. They don't use David Johnson enough. Granted, Philip Lindsay had his one good year or half good year. Mark Ingram does what he does. David Johnson is the best one that they have, but they don't use him enough. They should in this game, but you can't play him. It's not safe enough. For the Bills, yeah, you just go ahead. I mean, Zach Moss has been killing it. They'll probably use Singletary, again, at 50% capacity. The wide receivers, I don't know why you'd be starting Beasley at this point, but he's been getting it done. I'm not jumping on the Emmanuel Sanders train. He had his game last week. People picked him up. People are going to put him in the lineups. I think it's a mistake. I think it was, they're playing against um, a team where Diggs and whatnot were a little more looked at. But here's the thing: the Bills are going to clobber. They shouldn't have too much of a reason to have to utilize Emmanuel Sanders, especially when Gabe Davis is still there. So I think Emmanuel Sanders is a sit. I'm not chasing last week. I wouldn't have rostered him regardless. And the Dawson Knox question, listen, I love Dawson Knox. I talked about him, in the preseason, but he's another one. Like, don't chase it. But he is what he is. And if you're chasing based on last week, okay. But we said in the preseason he's going to be a reliable guy in the end zone. He's going to get you 4 passes, and one of them will probably be a touchdown. For a tight end, that's great. If you don't have a better option, okay. But all you have to worry about with this week is, again, the game flow. Buffalo should be able to dominate this game, running the ball. Could Knox get a touchdown? Sure. You could play him if you don't have a better tight end. But let's not expect a ton out of our Bills offense. I think that they'll just be able to run the ball and control the clock. And their defense, I think, is going to force Mills into some mistakes. I hope not. I mean, I'm rooting for the kid, but it's a tough place to play. And I don't think we're going to see Mills versus Jacksonville Mills. It's going to be a bit different.
Gotcha. All right, we'll see what happens. I wonder if the rain's going to affect it. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a little bit weather, and I know you say that the offense knows the plays compared to the defense. How does that kind of affect it? But Buffalo at home is, so you're right, it's just a totally different monster.
Right.
All right. Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Tough loss for Detroit last week to a Baltimore team that just didn't show up, but that 66-yard field goal was amazing to see live. Can we trust anybody in this offense? Swift is always banged up. He's questionable. It seems like he's questionable, but then he plays. He had a good game last week. Can we rely on both those runners in this Chicago's Bears defense, who should be good against the run team? Any wide receivers we would start. On the flip side, Justin Fields is your starter this week. Mooney banged up. Can we finally see A-Rob? Is this the week that he actually shows up? Is the target share going to be his? A lot of Komet questions as well. Are we worried about Montgomery losing any touches?
No, I'm not at all. In fact, I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is a Montgomery game. Montgomery is going to explode in this game. We've yet to see a Montgomery explosion. This is the one. Not only will he break a long run, probably for a touchdown, but he's going to catch a ton of passes as well. Damian Williams is going to be involved. I think that they go into this one. They have to. Matt Nagy has to come in with a better game plan. Get your quarterback comfortable. It's a lesser defense. You were playing the Browns last week, so we give it a little bit of a okay. But now we're playing the Lions. Get the run game established. Get the check game established. Take a few deep shots with A-Rob. Like A-Rob this week, he's going to be on a lot of benches. You should be playing him. The Lions offense has showed they can do some things. The Bears are still a good defense, but they're not the 85 Bears that as soon as people see Chicago Bears on the screen, they think, oh my God, they're amazing. Brian Urlacher and all the years before that. So you go ahead with Hawkinson. We talked about tight ends. You go ahead with Swift. Cephas is someone who last week disappeared on us. He was getting targets. I mean, there's no reason. Until we get into the bye weeks, these sort of ancillary guys, we're not going to really worry about them. And Komet's fine. I do think that this one is a little on the lower scoring side, like a 24-21. I don't even know what the line is, but it's a division game, so the Lions will keep it close. Goff has been at least serviceable. I do think the Bears pull it out. I think Monty is your biggest play in this game. I think if you're thinking about sitting David Montgomery, you should think again.
With a not-so-healthy Mooney, would you be using him in like a flex option, or would I be looking for somebody else?
It depends on who else you have. It really does. I'm fine with Mooney, but it depends on who else you have because I really think that they try and use the tight end, like you mentioned, use the running backs, take a few shots deep, sort of control the ball, give Fields some confidence in this one against a lesser defense. So Mooney isn't a must start. He's a
Gotcha. All right.
he's a if you must. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I like that. Not a must start, but an if you must. Ooh, I'm actually going to write that down. All right. Carolina Panthers at the Dallas Cowboys. This is the games where we have to see what is it going to look like for the Carolina offense, right? With CMC out, a lot of Hubbard questions. Hubbard, I think Freeman's going to get some burn as well. Talk about the split of what you feel is going to be happening. I know you mentioned it on the Tuesday show. Sam Darnold is now in a position where he has to look to his receivers. Who's getting the brunt of the load? Do we see the deep shots possibly happening to Robbie Anderson today, or does Terrence Marshall actually show up a little bit more? Because I'm pretty sure Dallas is going to be doubling DJ Moore. On the flip side, Cowboys offense is all systems go. It seems like everybody and anybody's getting the ball. Do we feel comfortable starting everybody and anybody? And talk about the tight end situation. I know you're saying that they kind of eat off each other, but a lot of Schultz questions. I see Schultz everywhere. And then on the flip side, can you start the Dallas defense against this Carolina team?
Yeah, the Panthers defense has looked good against who they've played. I think they're going to struggle a bit today at Dallas. I actually think the Dallas defense is one of the best plays of the week. I think that they're going to force Darnold into quite a few turnovers. They're going to get after him. I see at least one Darnold fumble and one Darnold interception. You can write that one down, Rob. I think that as far as Chuba is concerned, people are saying, "Oh, I got Chuba. He's CMC. Plug him in. He's Mike Davis. Plug him in." I think that it's a bit different because Davis was CMC 80%er, but they use him the same exact capacity. No one else really dispel him. You have Royce Freeman. They're going to use Royce Freeman. They're going to need to use Royce Freeman. I think you're looking at least a 40% share for Freeman in this game, with Chuba getting the bigger majority. As far as the Panthers go, DJ Moore, that's who Dallas is going to look to shut down. Robbie Anderson's going to beat him deep. Called it on the Tuesday show. Robbie Anderson's going to have a game today. Robbie Anderson's going to be on far too many benches. He's another DFS play. So we're building a nice DFS lineup for anybody who plays it because you get Robbie Anderson cheap. You're probably getting Montgomery pretty cheap. Forget who the first one I mentioned was. Maybe you can remind me. But
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. So there's Mike Davis, David Montgomery, Robbie Anderson, and then build up the rest of your lineup huge. Yeah, I really like Robbie Anderson today. It'd be interesting to see what they do with the tight ends. I like Tommy Tremble, the rookie. He looked good in his limited action last week. He's somebody that maybe you could go pluck off of waivers now if you're struggling at tight end. Maybe you had Gerald Everett, and you're a bit worried because he has COVID and you don't know what to do. He's somebody to just pluck off, throw Gerald Everett in your COVID IR spot if your league has him, which it should. And as far as Dallas goes, Cooper and Lamb and Zeke, and if you're really using Pollard at this point, it should be all systems go. Like I said, the Carolina defenses look good at who they played against. It's going to be, I think, something different with Dallas. I think that Dallas just sort of unloads. If you're a betting person, I would take the Cowboys in this game. I think that it's at least a double-digit victory.
I chose them in my pick'em weeks as my key game. This is my
I
key
don't even.
game, so I get an
I
extra
don't even know
point
what the
based on
line.
the Cowboys.
What's the line? I don't even know.
I think it was
I'm gonna
6.5,
say
if I'm not mistaken.
okay. Yeah, and a lot of people are going to take the Panthers because they're 3-0 or whatever. I think Dallas kind of destroys them a little.
All right. Indianapolis Colts at Miami Dolphins. Jonathan Taylor seems like he's expected to play. He's a little bit banged up. Is this the time where we see Mac being showed off almost in a way to see what his trade value is against a Miami defense that hasn't really shown up this year? Let's talk. I mean, Hines will obviously be involved as well. Pittman seems to be the guy that he tends to go to, but I know you like Pascal as well. anybody else who can be looking at, can this be kind of a Jack Doyle maybe kind of game, and where he can kind of eat if you're looking for a tight end? On the flip side, we've seen that Waddle and Gesicki are the go-tos. They get the most target share when it comes to the running game. I mean, to the passing game. Talk about the running game, though, a little bit. Can we start seeing Gaskin maybe go against this Indianapolis defense, or does this Indianapolis defense just take Miami out of it completely?
Yeah, I think the Colts defense does bounce back in this one. Stinks to have to go on the road. Brissett looked okay. They scored a bunch of points last week. But I like the Colts defense as a play in this one. They're starting to warm up. I also, the Miami defense quietly was very strong last week. They did give up a bunch of points against the Raiders, but they had a bunch of takeaways, a bunch of pressures, and they're starting to heat up as well. They were somebody that we liked early in the season based off of last year's out of nowhere emergence. And I feel like if they're sitting out there and you need a defense, there's somebody that's sort of looking like they're starting to come into form. Just stinks that their quarterback is Jacoby Brissett. As far as the Colts offense, it's Pascal, it's Pittman. Jonathan Taylor's a little banged up with his knee, but they're saying he should be fine. As far as Marlon Mack goes, I don't think he plays in this game. I think that the reason he has not been traded yet is because I think they're going to trade him to the Dolphins. I feel like Marlon Mack is going to get traded to the Dolphins, and they said, hey, we're not going to trade him to you before we play against you. That's just kind of my feeling, because Gaskin has, as predicted by us, is underwhelming. They're not using Ahmed enough for whatever reason. And Brown is just the guy that vultures the touchdown. So I kind of feel like, and that doesn't help anybody, right? You already aren't being helped having Gaskin, Ahmed, or Brown because they eat off each other. I just feel like for whatever reason, Marlon Mack's going to go to Miami. I don't know why. I'll probably be wrong, but I just have a feeling, and I feel like that's why he wasn't traded. I feel like they say, let's get through this game. We'll make the trade Monday type of thing. So we'll see. As far as the tight ends go, Doyle, sure, but he's like, they got Cox, and they haven't really used Kylan Granson yet. So I would stay away from any of them. When you listen, tight end is, we can beat this dead horse all day long. It's not moving.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
You don't want to use a tight end on a team that has 3 tight ends, because the tight end production is as poor as it is anyway. So just stay away from the Colts tight ends until 1 or 2 of them go down, and then you can even start to consider it. Miami, they tried to get Fuller involved last week. They did. Listen, I'm not even making a joke here. He honestly looked like somebody that didn't have his PEDs anymore. Like, am I wrong? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. He really looked like somebody that didn't have them anymore. So I think that continues. Gesicki, you called it last week. Great call. Brissett loves his tight ends. So Gesicki is a fine start. Hopefully this hill just keeps going up with him and we don't swoop back down. I'd stay away from the Miami running backs. Ahmed did nothing last week, so they'll probably use him some more this week. Who knows? And maybe that's what happens. Maybe they trade Mack to the Dolphins for Ahmed. That could be something that they do or something. So we'll see. But like Waddle's a good play, but I think this Colts defense shows up today. So if it's not Gesicki or Waddle, or if you're using Pascal on the flex for whatever reason, or Pittman, I think this one's going to be a good defensive battle. I don't see a ton of points being scored in this one.
All right. Sounds good. Let's go on to the next one here. Cleveland Browns at the Minnesota Vikings. Cleveland's looked pretty good, man. Their offense seems to be clicking. I mean, going against the Chicago team with the rookie quarterback, I mean, they looked amazing last week. Can they do the same thing against this Minnesota Vikings team, in which their offense is pretty good, man? Who should we be looking at? Is it a running kind of game, or OBJ going to actually eat a little bit more on the Cleveland side? On the flip side, Dalvin Cook is expected to play. Does that Mattson just go back to the bench then? Or do you think they'll try to use Mattson a little bit more to take some pressure off of Cooks? Who are we starting as far as a receiving, I guess, standpoint? And then tight end, I told you guys I like Conklin. He seems to be banged up, though. I wouldn't be taking a chance maybe on him this week. But somebody to look at, again, from beating the dead horse, a tight end perspective.
Yeah, I think that I would say I really love the kickers in this one. If Minnesota had a kicker that could make field goals, and it's not the kicker's fault, it's Minnesota's fault. They just, for whatever reason, whatever kicker goes to the Vikings, they just miss too many kicks. But nobody's got to tell you. Nobody here anyway. Jefferson, you can ride the hot streak with Thielen, but I really think that Osborne, who took sort of a backseat last week, and some people benched him. I think that he's going to be big in this game, especially because Conklin's a little banged up, and they're going against a tough defense in the Browns. They're going to have to beat him with the third wide receiver. Kirk Cousins is going to look for Osborne a little more today. Coverage is going to be tough on Jefferson and Thielen, and Osborne's going to sneak through. I do think that they use Madison a little bit more than he was used the first 2 weeks before Cook was out, but Madison is not somebody you can play. You do play Cook, you put him in, your number one pick, number 2 overall, or whatever he was. Browns are a really tough defense, so we just talked about them before. As far as the Browns go, Odell Beckham is going to score a big touchdown today. It's probably going to be at least 45 yards. And maybe on like a play action or something. But he's going to catch a deep ball today, and it's going to be a touchdown. And I foresee that happening without fail. No Landry again, so maybe our guesstimator from week 3 will come through, Demetric Felton. They did look for him early last week. He gets you a bunch of points if you do return yardage. He's the return man. You can really only play him in a flex Hail Mary type of thing. But they did look to get him involved. Last week was his first week in a full role. So I would think that because the Vikings can put up points like you mentioned, possible that he'll be a bit more involved today. And, Higgins and DPJ and Schwartz, these guys all sort of eat off each other. But, yeah, this game could be pretty high scoring. I do think that there's going to be a bunch of field goals. I think that these teams will both get stopped inside the 30 a few times today. Hopefully Minnesota makes them so that keeps the game going and Cleveland doesn't build such a big lead. Nobody's got to tell you to play Chubb or Hunt. If you got them, you might as well.
Yeah, I would take a chance in like a 2 QB league. I would take a chance on Cousins this week, just especially that Cook's a little bit banged up. I think that they do throw the ball a little bit more and try to keep up with this Cleveland offense who's been playing pretty well. All right, next game here. New York Giants at the New Orleans Saints. Giants were a disappointment last week, losing to Atlanta. I mean, everybody's hurt. There's no Shepard. There's no Slayton. Is Tony finally going to get the love that he's been looking for from this team? I mean, he was out there, I think they said over 65 or 70% of the snaps last week. I think he had 2 targets. Now, do they have to get him involved? Is this an Ingram game? Or can we see Barkley actually running against this Saints defense, who's been probably one of the top 3 defenses in the league this year? As far as Jameis Winston, which one are we getting today? So do we get great games from the wide receivers? And obviously you're starting Kamara, but can Jones be somebody that could be a flex option against this New York Giants defense who lost their linebacker, doesn't seem to have it together?
Yeah, I mean, Tony's a fine play today. I see that somebody asked a question. We'll get to that at the end of the show. Again, we're going to do all questions at the end. But Tony's a fine play. Colin Johnson's the other one. Everybody else is hurt. I mean, aside from Kenny Galladay. But the Saints defense, like you talked about, better than I thought they'd be. Not quite sure if that's a fluke. We'll see. This isn't quite a good barometer against this Giants offense. As like you said, they just they should have easily won that game last week. They just so many mistakes. It's like they got to a lead and they just died, and they waited for the team to catch up. Atlanta, and they're like, okay, we'll take the lead, we'll turn it on again. Okay, you guys can come back and play with us. And it was just disappointing to see. And I'm not even a Giants fan. I'm more of like a Giants hater, but I was rooting for them, and it was just lackluster, to say the least. Barkley, I feel like with every week, he's just going to get a bit stronger. It's going to be very tough. The Saints have a good rush defense. That's probably their strength. on defense, but they're going to have to use him. They're going to have to get him involved, and you should have him in your lineup as well. We'll see if Vanilla Vic uses these two. He looked to Colin Johnson quite a bit last week. So I would imagine, since they knew early on Shep and Slayton were not playing, that they have a nice game plan to use Tony. So I do think that he's going to be good today. Callaway got the rainbow Hail Mary, weird Jameis Winston, I'm falling over, let me just chuck it in the air touchdown last week. I feel like that was a little bit of false hope. I mean, Callaway did catch a couple other balls, but I mean, that was just such a fluky, ridiculous pass and play that we can't be like, oh, Callaway scored a touchdown last week, we got to use him. But against this defense, the Giants, you probably could be okay doing so. And I'm also not going to be surprised. Here's one of our preseason sleepers. I'm going to do a little post-hype sleep here. I think Juwan Johnson is going to show back up today. He was goose-egged last week. I feel like Juwan Johnson is going to score a touchdown today. So if you're struggling at tight end, I know it's a Hail Mary, but I do feel like he pops back on the radar today.
Interesting. I was talking to my buddy Mike, and he was saying that he doesn't think that Daniel Jones, Vanilla Vic here, is going to be the quarterback next year for the Giants. He thinks that they're going to move on.
Yeah, they will.
That may be. I mean, the way he's been playing.
Yeah, they'll draft somebody. Without a doubt, they're going to draft someone. That's a long ways away, though. We got to deal with Vanilla Vic this year.
All right. Tennessee Titans at the New York Jets. Obviously, me being a Jets fan, I want them to play well. Tennessee, we've always talked about their secondary being the worst in the league. Their defense isn't the greatest, and they're down their best two receivers in A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. A lot of Westbrook and Akine, right? Westbrook Akine, if I'm not mistaken. Is he the start, or are we looking at somebody else that we're just kind of overlooking from a Tannehill perspective? And can you start Tannehill without having the receivers? Or is this a Derrick Henry, I'm just going to punch you in the face, New York Jets, and run all over you? On the flip side, if Crowder's on the field, what kind of difference does that make for this New York Jets offense? I think he should be coming back today. Does that give the option of that safety net that Zach Wilson hasn't had yet? And let's talk about the running game. Can Michael Carter be a flex play?
Yeah, real quick, Antonio, it's okay you didn't watch. We're gonna start doing all questions at the end. We're gonna go through the show, so if you're just tuning in now, that is fine. Your question has not been addressed yet. Talked about on Tuesday and still feel this way. I think the Jets offense does bounce back a little bit today at home. Tennessee is the worst secondary in the league. They will utilize that fact and attack that secondary. Corey Davis, I like him a lot. I like him a lot today. Crowder's going to open it over the middle. He's going to give that tight endish safety blanket for Zach Wilson. He's been missing. Should be Carter being able to run. I feel like, although he hasn't done amazingly, he's shown to be the best one on the roster. I know Ty Johnson was a little involved last week. But you're not going to start probably either one of them. I do think that Tennessee tries to run the ball quite a bit against the Jets. Should be fairly simple for them. And that's the reason that this guy I'm going to mention is not the week 4 guesstimator. He was the first runner-up. So it was between the week 4 guesstimator and this guy, Josh Reynolds. Everybody is going to pick up Nick Westbrook, Ickhind, Myers, and Schwartz. That's the lawyer, the law firm, in case it went over your head. Based on what he did last week, but Josh Reynolds was inactive last week. Josh Reynolds is going to be active this week. Josh Reynolds has a good track record. Josh Reynolds is more acclimated to the league. Josh Reynolds is going to be the top wide receiver for Tennessee today. And everybody and their mother is picking up Nick Westbrook, Ickhind. And Josh Reynolds is just sitting out there. If you need a wide receiver that bad, you should go pick up Josh Reynolds. The only reason that Josh Reynolds was not the week 4 guesstimator is because I don't think that they're going to need to pass much. In order for them to pass much, my prediction of the Jets offense showing up has to come true. So I think that they're going to, but I wasn't going to make Reynolds my week 4 guesstimator, because if that doesn't happen, then all things are lost. But I think Josh Reynolds is a pickup over Nick Westbrook at kind. I think a lot of people are picking up the first Nick, and they should be picking up Josh. Do you play him? I don't know if you need to. Josh Reynolds, Sean. Josh Reynolds. So, yeah, Henry, you play him. And we're just waiting for Darrington Evans to come back, because I'm not buying into the Blossom game or Jeremy McNichols. Evans will be a difference maker if and when he finally gets back, maybe next week. But it's going to be a Derrick Henry show. They're going to try and keep the Jets off the field. I do think that the Jets offense comes through. So because of that, if you really need a wide receiver, it's Josh Reynolds, and it's not Nick Westbrook at kind.
I'm sorry, I was frozen most of that time. Can you say the name one more time, please?
That's all I said, Josh Reynolds.
All right, just busting chops. All right, awesome. You know what's funny is that I had this feeling in the Jets offense today, we're going to see a big play to like an Elijah Moore. Everyone's been like joking. Obviously, the Jets offense just hasn't been there. Is this a play where Salah's going to completely try to open the playbook? They're like, you know what? We're 0-3 anyways. Let's just air it out. Let's see what the hell can happen.
Listen, if the Jets don't do it this game, it's done. This is the worst secondary in the league.
Yeah. No, you're right. And to be honest, going to London next week, I think you kind of have to show up a little bit to give yourself a little bit more hype going into that game, because we know that tends to be an offensive game. So might as well open up the playbook as you can. Mm-hmm. Just a friendly reminder, guys, we're going to be doing the questions all at the end. What's going on, Nick? I see you saying good morning. We'll be doing the questions at the end, going through all the games first. Kansas City Chiefs at the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know, man. The Chiefs are going to be angry again. I mean, we kept on saying they're going to be angry. They're going to win. They're going to be angry. They're going to win. I mean, they should beat the Philadelphia Eagles, right? I mean, the Eagles looked horrible last week. Hurts was really put into a blender. Is it just the 4 guys you're starting from Kansas City, or can we look at a Hardman? Can we look at a D-Rob? Anybody else, like a Pringle maybe, against this Philadelphia defense, who's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's just if the offense isn't clicking, the defense being on the field too long, it's not working for them. On the flip side, Miles Sanders really wasn't used last week. Can we trust anybody on this Eagles offense to be a starter this week for you in your lineups?
Well, they're saying Gordon could be active next week for Kansas City. So that's got to light a fire under Tyreek Hill Jr., Mecole Hardman, and D-Rob and Pringle. But I don't want to play either one. It's Hill, it's Kelsey, it's CEH. Go for it. Put him in your lineup. It's fine. CEH, I think, is going to hit that upward trend. Andy Reid stuck with him. I think it built his confidence, and he had the game last week that we talked about on Tuesday. Should continue. For the Eagles, the offense did not look good for the most part against Dallas. Now they're at home. I think that Jalen Hurts finally, well, not finally, because he had been doing it fantasy-wise, but I think he has a good game in this one. I think that he actually takes off and runs when he's allotted that. And I feel like he'll get those wide receivers involved. Quez Watkins showed up a little bit last week. He's somebody to keep your eye on once again as we get into bye weeks next week. Devonta Smith will have a game today. This one's going to be a high-scoring one. This one, you're going to want your big Chiefs. You're going to want your big Eagles, Goddard. Even put Ertz in if you're struggling at tight end, because what's the worst that will happen with Ertz is you get 3 for 34, and that's what tight ends get. And from the running back side of things, we haven't seen too much Gainwell. I mean, we can't count last week because they had 3 rushes, 3 rushing attempts. So look for the Eagles to sort of do the same thing that the Bears are going to do. Get the running game going, check down to the running back. So we'll see Gainwell catch some passes. We'll see Boston Scott catch some passes. We'll see Miles Sanders catch some passes. Get them going to get Hurts going. It's going to open up the downfield, and that's when Quez and Devonta really come in. And the check downs to the tight ends, just like we talked about in the Chicago game. So keep an eye on that if you're keeping tabs on all the things I'm saying. The Bears' game plan should be very similar to the Eagles' game plan because both of them had young quarterbacks who struggled greatly last week. They have similar weapons. So that's how it's going to be. I'm fine playing Hurts and the big name Eagles as well.
You mentioned Watkins and you mentioned Devonta Smith. How about Rager? Do you feel comfortable?
Yeah, because they're going to need them. This is a volume play and a past correction play. They didn't have a good offensive plan last week. They struggled. And now they're at home. And now they're going to face against the Chiefs, who you talked about, have to be angry again. And the Chiefs are going to put up points. So it's volume and it's correction. Yes, you want to play your Eagles, you want to play your Chiefs.
All right. Next one up here, Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. I always feel like these games are close, man. I always feel like they bring out either the best or the worst in each other.
Yeah.
So on the Cardinals side, are we worried about starting Kyler Murray against this Rams defense who's just been pretty good? I mean, they've given up points, but they get sacks. They get a lot of interceptions, so on and so forth. As far as the running game, is it Edmonds or is it Connor? It seems like you can kind of utilize both, but like you say, for a couple other teams, they're eating off each other. But do we feel comfortable starting them? On the flip side, Matt Stafford's looked absolutely outstanding with Kupp. Anybody else that we should be looking at? Can Bobby Woods finally show up? Are we going to see more Van Jefferson? Henderson seems like he's going to be active this game. So on a Henderson standpoint, do we feel comfortable starting Henderson now as far as giving, this offense a little bit of a break from just passing the ball? Can we see some running against this Cardinals defense who's pretty good, but not the Rams defense?
Yeah, I own Kyler in 3 leagues, and one of the leagues you and I co-manage, the ABG league, and we actually played Burrow over him. And Burrow had a pretty good game. We felt like the matchup was good. So I am a little scared about Kyler in this. But the other 2 leagues, I'm playing Kyler. The Rams defense, as good as it gets, they get after the quarterback. Problem is, he's about as slippery and quick as anybody out there, if not the slipperiest and the quickest.
Quickest.
Quickest. So, you worry if you have a better option. I feel like Burrow was one of the best options. His game could have been better. Could have had a rushing touchdown that got called back. Could have got over 350 yards that would have given us a bonus. But it was serviceable, and the matchup was good. That's why we played the matchups, not the names. But if it's Kyler or Baker, and I think Baker's going to have a good game, but I don't think the touchdowns are going to be there, I'm sticking with Kyler. The Rams offense is going to be able to do some things. I have said a couple of weeks ago, I feel like this Cardinals defense is going to surprise this year. But I feel like this is going to be an offensive game. Here's who's going to show up. I know I said it last week. Usually I'm a week ahead sometimes when I'm wrong. Robert Woods is going to be on benches. And I said the same exact thing last week. And if it doesn't happen this week, then I'll never say it again. I promise you all. But he's bound to pop up and piss everyone off. And I just feel like this is a game. I feel like the Cardinals defense is good enough across the board, across the lineup, that they can focus, which the last team should have done last week, the Bucs, on Kupp to make sure Kupp doesn't get so open, because it was ridiculous last week, and it's been all season long. And I love Kupp. You go back, you watch our show. I think it was our first season, maybe our second season. I was telling everybody how good Cooper Kupp was going to be. Nobody even knew who he was. I said Goff to Kupp is going to be quite the combo. So don't get me wrong, love Kupp. He probably will be able to sneak past the defense here, but the defense has to figure out how to make sure he doesn't get so open. And I think Robert Woods, who has underwhelmed, is going to show up big time in this one. Luckily, D-Hop has practiced all week, so he'll be back. You're going to be back on your Kirk versus Rondale train. Don't think either one is necessarily a must start, but it's okay, I suppose, because they're going to be needed. I do see offense. I just see it being a struggle. This might be a game where you're looking at it and the Rams running back is the same way. Henderson's back. Michelle's going to play. I'm going to say it's going to be about close to a 50-50 split, as we'll see this entire week, even more so than Moss and Singletary, Hunt and Chubb. I think there'll be points, but I think it's going to be a struggle. I think you'll be watching your players in this game like, God, this guy's only getting me blah, 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 and then sooner or later you'll get what it was that you're looking for. You play your guys. Unless you got better options. This one should be a good one.
Yeah, I think this could be the game of the week. Either it's going to be a superstars or it's going to be duds because the defenses show up. All right. Seattle Seahawks at San Francisco 49ers. Russell Wilson, fantasy-wise, has been putting up good numbers. You had called last week that you didn't think it was going to be a lock game. He's banged up. How does that change this offense now? Obviously, Metcalf is going to be looked to. He's going to be targeted. But can we see what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. The other wide receiver that caught a big touchdown recently. Swain? No. I'll think of it. I'll look it up. But anyways, as far as the offense that's happening here, are we trusting everything that's going to be happening in Seattle against the San Francisco defense, who's pretty good, man? On the flip side, Eli Mitchell looks like he's out. Trey Sermon didn't look great, but he's the only option that's available right now. Or do we see some Kerryon Johnson coming in this, or Jaquez Patrick or something like that? Or do we stay away from that situation completely? Ayuk and Debo, Kittle underwhelmed. Is it finally Kittle time?
Yeah, Kittle's going to play. They're saying you keep going with Kittle. Unfortunately, he could get hurt mid-game, but if you don't have a better option, there's no reason not to. Seattle defense has looked terrible. Their rush defense is one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. I was really hoping that we would be able to see Mitchell take it back, but here's what's going to happen. Sermon's going to kill it this game, and Sermon's going to get the starter job. He's got a second life. Didn't prove it last week. That's why they waited so long to call Mitchell out, because they're like, man, Sermon really just didn't do what he was supposed to do at all. But now they have no choice, and he's going to run all over the Seahawks. If you have Sermon, you put him in. He's a good flex play for your DFS team. If you want to go super cheap option, we've given you 4 now already. Now you should be able to build up the rest of the team and win some money. Debo, go ahead. Ayuk, go ahead. And as far as the Seahawks goes, for me, it's Metcalf. You got to go with Carson. I know that he was a little banged up, and they're not using DJ Dallas. Penny's on the IR. They still got Homer. They still got, Collins, who's been there for like 31 years. This is going to be Russell Wilson's going to have a game. And Russell Wilson's going to be one of those games where it's guys whose names were picked out of a hat, score touchdowns, and people go after them on the waiver wire next week. I can't recall the one guy that you're thinking of. I feel like, is Eskridge playing? Dwayne Eskridge, the rookie, or is he out? It'd be interesting to see if he plays today. I'm fine sitting Lockett, but I've been fine sitting Lockett. So it is what it is. This game should be a high-scoring game. Typically, it is between these two.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been going back and forth as far as in and out. So, all right, good. I'm glad that you can hear me. It is Swain. Freddie Swain is the guy's name.
No thanks.
But, again, all right.
Not yet.
Next one here, Baltimore Ravens.
Till the bye week start. These guys.
I mean, if Lockett's banged up, that may be something of interest to look into, especially like you said with bye weeks coming up. Baltimore Ravens at the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos, I'll start with the 3-0 team. Are they really 3-0, or is it based off, again, the same kind of Carolina Panthers situation? We know Hamler's out for the season. A lot of Tim Patrick questions. Am I starting Tim Patrick in my flex? Am I starting him as one of my receivers? He's still out there on waivers. Should he be on my team? I'm going to go with yeah. Melvin Gordon seems like he's playing, so that obviously hurts Williams a little bit. But they've been kind of having that 50-50 split. Is this finally a time against this Baltimore Ravens team where we see some establishment from Williams? On the flip side, Lamar looks like he is playing. Hollywood has been the go-to. Mark Andrews had a good game last week. Sammy Watkins still kind of being in the script of things. Tyson is a very big question mark still. Let's talk about the situation there as well.
Yeah, Tyson, it's like, you have what you had last week, and we've sort of said, okay, you're gone. We can forget about you. And going against this Denver defense doesn't make me want to jump back on his train. Now, could it be Tyson does something in this game and surprises us all and resurrects himself? Maybe. I think the Ravens going to struggle in this one against this Broncos defense. With Lamar being a little bit banged up, the secondary solid. Hollywood got wide open a bunch last week. I don't think there's no way he could drop balls as egregiously as he did last week. Those were ridiculous. But can you start him with confidence? I'm not sure. This game's going to be this game. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not just going to pull stuff out of my butt. Like, I have no real feel in this other than I want to play Sutton. If I have to, I want to play Patrick. And if I must, I want to play Javonte Williams. And of course, I'm not going to even mention Mark Andrews or Noah Fant, because if you have them, you play them, because tight end, that's about as good as it gets unless you have Kelsey.
10-4, Captain. I agree. I have to start Patrick in a league, and I'm okay with it. I feel like the target share should be there. All right. Pittsburgh Steelers at your Green Bay Packers. There's potential for rain here. But Steelers offense has been worrisome, man. Everyone keeps on saying, I'm not feeling what the Steelers offense are doing. You mentioned Big Ben's past it. Who is it going to be, Mason Rudolph or Haskins? It's like, can we trust anybody? I mean, obviously, Juju looks like he's more than likely out. Claypool is out. Deontay's back, though. So is it just a Deontay game and a Najee Harris? Can those be the only two guys that we're trusting? On the flip side, against this defense, Steelers should play okay, but who are we looking at as far as from a Packers perspective? The secondary guys, your Lazards, your MVSs, are those guys that you can start against this Steelers defense?
Well, as a lifelong Packer fan, I'll tell you that nobody makes a bum look good, better than Green Bay. So they are at home off a big win. Maybe there's a little bit of a hangover. Pittsburgh was terrible last week. I don't think it lasts to that degree. Deontay coming back will be huge for them. Granted, James Washington may be the only other one that they have, but I think you're going to see a big Freiermuth game. If you're somebody who is struggling with defense or with a tight end, I think Freiermuth is somebody that you should be plucking off the waivers and using. I think Najee Harris, you continue to use him against this defense. Deontay is a must start. I think the Steelers score some points and give the Packers a scare. And I, as a Packer fan, I'm a little bit worried about this one, coming home after a big win against a team who struggled last week. As far as the Packers go, Aaron Jones, Pittsburgh defense a little banged up, but you're going to play Jones, you're going to play Adams. MVS is actually on IR, Rob, short-term IR.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
So I would not be surprised if Lazard or Randall Cobb resurrect themselves in this one. I think that they continue to get Josiah DeGuara more involved with Tunyon. And they also, Equinemius St. Brown is going to be active in this one. And the rookie, I think his name is Amari Rogers, I want to say. So they're going to have to use somebody else. Pittsburgh's defense, even when they struggle, is good enough to shut down the top guy or try to. Devontae Adams is about as tough as it gets to actually shut down. But the Packers will have to get other guys involved just like they did last week. I know Devontae had a huge game, but I told you the way they beat the Niners is getting everybody else involved. They got everybody else involved, and then they began to feed Adams because the defense had to worry about everybody else. So Green Bay should go into this with the same exact game plan. Get all the other guys involved. That will open up Adams. That's how you're going to win this game. Deontay has to be started, though.
I was worried about Deontay to a certain degree just because you don't know if he's going to make it through the game, but there's no other choice. Like, you have to. Just from a target share perspective, he's going to see like 15 to 18 targets today. Easy. All right, Tampa Bay at the New England Patriots. Potential for rain again in this kind of game, but obviously Brady going back home. Brady does not have Gronk, though. How is this offense going to go against this New England Patriots defense, who's been playing pretty good as well? Anybody that we should be looking at from those non kind of players, those Johnsons, your Millers, and so on and so forth. Always people are looking for, now that Gronk's out, is it Braid or OJ? What do you think? On the flip side, Patriots offense is without James White. Is it a Damian Harris game? Can we see him now just taking over that entire backfield, or can we see a Stevenson? On the wide receiver side, Jacoby Myers is his favorite target. I want to start Jacoby Myers in a game that I think they're going to have to play and pass the ball. Anybody else we should be looking at from that perspective?
Yeah, as far as the Bucks go, they have my second runner-up, so third place for the Guesstimator, and that was O.J. Howard. I was going to bring up O.J. Howard because Gronk's not out, and I see a lot of people grabbing Brait. But O.J. Howard definitely fills into that Gronk role a bit better. But people know his name, and there's just too many weapons there, so he just wasn't worthy of the Week 4 Guesstimator. What's his? I wanted to call him LeGarrette Blount. Leonard Fournette. Continue to do what he does. Rojo will frustrate us all. You're playing Godwin, you're playing Evans, you're probably playing Antonio Brown. Tyler Johnson looked good in his place last week, but maybe that's a year or two away. And by then, Brady might be gone unless Brady plays to 50. For as far as the Patriots go, N'Keal Harry's coming back. So they're going to have N'Keal Harry. That's going to be huge for this team because now they have Aguilar, Myers that you mentioned, and N'Keal Harry. They got both tight ends, even though John was a little banged up. And you mentioned Ramondre Stevenson, but I think the Patriots have our Week 4 Guesstimator.
Week 4 Guesstimator. All right, the outside box player of the week. There you go.
J.J. Taylor. J.J. Taylor, when I told you that it was going to be J.J. Taylor, Rob says, oh, I don't know who he is. Let me look him up. And he looks at him and he goes, well, that's James White Jr. And I said, exactly. James White's gone. Last week, the plug and play by the Patriots was Brandon Bolden because he's a bit better in pass cover, or not pass coverage, pass blocking, pass protection. He was already there. He was warm into the game from playing special teams, but he's their special teams ace. They don't want him playing so much offense. They need him on the special teams. J.J. Taylor, second-year running back, 5'6", $180 or something, Rob told me. He's going to fill into that James White role. And I think that maybe you'll see a little Bolden, but you'll be disappointed if you pick them up. And maybe you'll see a little Stevenson. You'll be disappointed if you pick him up. Some people have already picked up J.J. Taylor, but not enough people did. Not enough people know who he is. He's my Week 4 Guesstimator. I see him catching, I'm going to say, 8 passes today because I think that the way that you're going to have to beat the Bucs is quick passes, check downs to the running backs. You can't run on these guys. Damian Harris is going to struggle against them, but they'll have to continue to use them. If they get close, you probably could get that touchdown out of Damian Harris just to get you over the hump. But J.J. Taylor, and you know what? Damian Harris is going to catch some extra balls today. They should have been using him a bit more in the pass game to begin with, but for whatever reason, they haven't been. I know he was banged up last week. I know we told you to sit him last week, but I think he's a little bit more healthy this week. You go ahead, you throw him in. You'll probably get a touchdown and a few passes, but J.J. Taylor's the one that is going to be on benches, that is probably on waiver wires, that you want to pick up now and you want to stash him away and maybe use him if you have to, because he's James White for the rest of the season, because James White is out. And Hunter Henry, I thought he would score a touchdown last week. Thought John would score a touchdown last week. One of them will this week. The problem is who?
We'll see which one.
Yeah,
exactly. Mac Jones, I think they're going to put him in a position to not fail tonight. So I can see you're right. The quick passes, N'Keal Harry, I have to wait and see. I mean, especially with the controversy that you were seeing and stuff like that. But that gives 3 wide receivers who are capable of catching the ball to be able to make plays outside the lines as well. So it's kind of going to be interesting to see how they run this offense so that they can succeed against this Buccaneers defense.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Questions are coming up soon. We're on our last game here. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Raiders sneaky play, man. Again, same kind of concept as the Carolina Panthers, as your Denver Broncos. This 3-0 team going against the Chargers team who looks pretty good. They beat the Chiefs last week, but Derek Carr is leading the league in passing yards. Waller is Kelsey right now, in my opinion. Brian Edwards is stepping up. You're getting what you're getting from Renfro. How do we feel about this offense against this Los Angeles Chargers defense, who's okay? They're not that bad, to be honest with you. And can we start these guys against this Chargers defense, which hopefully should be a high-scoring game? On the flip side, we know it's Keenan Allen. We know it's Mike Williams. We know it's Eckler, and we know it's Herbert. Anybody else we should be looking at? Can Fulgham be Pelham? I don't remember the tight end's name right now. But can he be Parham? Can he be actually utilized in this game against the Raiders defense, who they get to the quarterback, but their secondary isn't the greatest?
Yeah, the Chargers will give the Raiders their first loss. I mean, it's going to happen. The Raiders, they've been sneaking these out. The Chargers will beat them at home on Monday night. That's not a question. The Raiders will be able to run on the Chargers, though. The Chargers do not have a very good rush defense. Josh Jacobs will probably be back. He's questionable.
Should be back.
Right, but they used Barber last week, and they have Drake, so we might see all 3 of them going on in there. So Josh Jacobs is, if you must. Right now I have him in a flex, but I'm probably, come Monday, going to swap him out for a guy who I think is going to have a huge game in this one. That's Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards only shows up in the fourth quarter and overtime. Sooner or later, they're going to realize we have to get him involved in the first, the second, and the third early, because anytime the ball gets thrown his way, he's making things happen. But they're never looking for him in the first 3 quarters of games for no reason, because they're looking at Waller, they're using the run, they used Ruggs a ton more last week, but Bryan Edwards is somebody who I think makes a name for himself in the big stage on Monday night. I can see it now. People are going to see him. They're going to see his size, see his physicality, see his tools, see his athleticism. Bryan Edwards is somebody that I think is going to have a very nice game in this one, because they're going to be playing catch-up. I'm not huge on the Chargers or Justin Herbert, but it is what it is. Their offense is solid. Williams is killing it. Allen's the man. The tight ends are doing their thing, Cook and Parham, like you talked about. And Eckler continues to get it done, and he'll be able to against this Raiders defense. And then they have Roundtree and Kelly and Jackson if need be. So there's plenty of weapons. Then they got the ancillary guys as well. The Chargers offense, they're explosive. They'll show it on Monday night. Herbert will have a game. So the Raiders will be playing catch-up. So I think Bryan Edwards is a start over a lot of those ancillary guys or questionable guys that we've talked about throughout this entire slate of games. And all those Chargers I just mentioned, the big 3, Allen, Williams, and Eckler, obviously, are must-starts.
Sneaky, really cheap. If you need somebody, I can see Guyton catching a touchdown for some reason in this game. I think they're going to really try to make sure that Mike Williams doesn't affect them, and Keenan Allen. I can see a Guyton kind of stepping up and being that third guy to get some of the love.
They have so many guys like that, like the rookie Palmer.
Right. They do. He likes Guyton, though. I mean, Guyton, it always seems like when there's a third down play, Guyton is on the field at least to be able to try to get some love.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we are ready for some questions. I got a whole bunch. I see a whole bunch of comments. We're going to go through them right now. Darko, all right. Yes, that's the way I love to start my show. Answers by guess. Kevin with the question, Carr or Tannehill?
Man. I'm going to go with Carr from a volume perspective.
I agree with that. Kevin with another question. Hardman or Rager?
I'm going to go with Rager.
All right. Alan answers by, and this man, this way. Guess.
That's me.
All right. Juan's with another question here. Thinking Kamara and CEH starting using Javonta or Edmonds in flex or the other receiver from above, which would be Hardman, Marshall Jr., or Lazard.
I'm going to go with Javonte.
All right. Seth with the question here. At flex, Connors, Manny Sanders, Devonta Smith, also Tim Patrick and Kirk are free agents.
While I like Tim Patrick because he's Chris Carter reincarnated, all he does is catch touchdowns. I'm going to go with Devonta Smith. But I would, Seth, drop Manny Sanders and pick up Tim Patrick.
You're reading my mind there, sir. I was literally about to say those words. All right, Alan K. Flex, Waddle, Sony, Corey Davis, Pittman, or Rager?
Corey Davis.
All right, I'm going to go with Pittman, and that's just because I think that he scores a touchdown today. All right, Alan with another question. Start 2 PPR, Sutton, Beasley, Lockett, questionable, Rager, Tim Patrick, or Barber?
Definitely Sutton. And I'd like to go Tim Patrick to just sort of solidify it. But I think I'm going to go Rager. Just they're at home. I know that the Broncos are also at home. But I feel like they're going to get Jalen Hurts going today, and they're going to need to. It's a volume play. Sutton and Rager.
I agree. Derek with the question. Claypool, we know, is out. Galladay, Rojo, Mitchell, Ertz, Rondell Moore, or Michael Carter?
You can't play Mitchell. He's going to be out. You know what? I'm going to go Galladay. He's the best one on the roster. Put him in the lineup.
All right. Yeah, Claypool is out. All right. Dawn with the question. I need a tight end streamer this week. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Cook, Gesicki, Henry, Schultz, Komet, Bobby T, Jonnu, Freiermuth, or Ingram?
I absolutely love Freiermuth. But I think I'll go Gesicki. But Freiermuth might be a little bit safer. But I'll say Gesicki.
A little safer.
But Don, what I want you to do, I want you to get a coin. I want you to make Gesicki heads, Freiermuth tails. I want you to flip
it. All right. Next one here from Alan. With Julio and AJ out, thoughts on this guy, Nick Westbrook and Kine? You had mentioned it before. Let's repeat it.
Here you go, Sean. Josh Reynolds. Like, you want Josh Reynolds more than you want Nick Westbrook Ikine today. If I'm wrong on Tuesday, I'll apologize to every single one of you, but Josh Reynolds is who I'd want 100 days out of 100 if somebody told me I could only use one of these two. Josh Reynolds. One more time.
All right. Matt D with the question. Should I trade Mike Evans for Adam Thielen?
I would not. I would rather have Mike Evans. I know that he's in a crowded wide receiver room, but we've seen the Adam Thielen start before, and we've seen him fizzle towards the end. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I like Adam Thielen, but Mike Evans is just – I'd rather have Evans.
I'm probably going to agree. I love Thielen with all my heart and soul, but Evans has more potential in that offense. All right. I'd be getting Deontay and McKissick for Ayuk and Hunt. I'm kind of worried about the Steelers' offense. What do you guys think?
I think that I want nothing to do with McKissick, so I would just keep Ayuk and Hunt.
I agree 100%. I think Ayuk's going to start surprising guys. He's getting healthier. I think Shanahan has lit a fire under him, and I think he's going to start getting some love like Debo's been getting.
I would, however, trade if somebody wanted to just do Ayuk for Deontay. I'd take Deontay.
From a target share perspective, I could agree with that. Spencer, I was offered Claypool for Pollard. Opinions?
You can't use Claypool this week, and you probably would be better off just holding on to Pollard anyways.
Running back depth, man. That's what I would be going with. Antonio Gronko is not playing, so I need to drop one. Mike Davis, Harris, Pittman, or Broncos defense. And who do I pick up? Cook, Knox, or Schultz?
Man, I don't want to drop any of those.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drop any.
Antonio, do you not have an IR spot to put Gronko on? I don't want to drop any of those. Pittman's the one. Harris is not droppable. If that's Mike Davis, I mean, for RB, I'm not going to drop a starting running back for a tight end. Broncos, you know what? Like this Gronk thing was pretty early in the week. This could turn out to be a couple week thing. He's getting older. We've seen this before. If Cook, Knox, and Schultz are the best tight ends on your waiver wire, I mean, I guess I'd pick up Knox, but I really don't want to drop any of those. I would. It's like, it sounds so wrong, but I would drop Gronk. I feel like the other ones are just be so much more valuable to your team.
It's even worth not starting a tight end to not have to drop one of those guys, depending on what the rest of your roster looks like. Because, I mean, if you're only getting anywhere from 5 to 7 points, you're saying, luckily, I mean, Gronk has been better than that, but I'm saying from an average of what you're going to get out of Cook, Knox, or Schultz, maybe worth taking that chance. Antonio, with another question: Patterson or Hubbard? I'm assuming this is Cordero.
If it's Cordero, Patterson, man, this is a good one. Good one. It's not Jarrett. It's got to be Cordero, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Cordero.
I'm going to go Patterson. It's a bit safer. We haven't seen Hubbard in a full-time thing. I think that Panthers struggle on offense a little bit. I'm going to go with Patterson.
That's a close one. I would go Patterson just because we've seen what his role is with that team. All right, Antonio, with another one: Brady or Stafford? I think this is actually not a bad question, man.
I'm going to go with Stafford because they're at home, right? They are playing a secondary they can beat with a bunch of weapons, and Brady is just, they're going to be going after Brady, and it's his coach of 20-plus seasons who knows everything about him. I'm going to go with Stafford. I don't think Brady's going to have a bad game. I just think that Stafford will have a better one.
I always say it, man. The way to get to Brady is to get to him, knock him down, push him over, get him out of the pocket. And I think that's exactly what Belichick's going to do. Jeremy with the question: I didn't start Boyd in one league, so Pittman or Brown? I'm assuming Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittman.
Okay. Also, I feel Komet might do good this week. Komet or Gesicki? Higbee or Gesicki?
Yeah, Komet might do good this week, but I'm going to ride the Gesicki wave. I'm just going to keep going with it.
For both, so over Higbee as well?
Yeah.
All right. Antonio F. with a question: Cousins or Rodgers? Ooh, not a bad question.
Ay. Oh, boy. Rodgers at home. Cousins at home. I'm going to go with A-Rod. I know you like Cousins, Rob.
This is Hollywood Brown. No, I'm sorry. Jeremy just said Hollywood Brown or Pittman.
I'm still going to go with Pittman.
Okay. Oop, I lost myself here. Antonio, up with another question: Dak or Darnold?
Dak.
Yeah, you got to go Dak. Alan K. Who should I start in a flex PPR? Waddle, Michael Carter, Corey Davis, Pittman, AJ Green, Mooney, Sony, or Rager?
Telling you, man, Corey Davis. He's going to have a date today against that secondary. Corey Davis.
I'm going Pittman, but Corey Davis very close. Antonio, with another question. Who do you think is the best tight end for rest of season? Knox, Kmet, Henry, Ertz, Freiermuth. I'm liking Knox.
Freiermuth.
Yeah. These guys being hurt and stuff like that. Freiermuth has been getting love even with them on the field. So yeah. I agree. Knox would be a very close second to me, just because of the way the offense clicks over there. He's more a touchdown needed almost in a way to get the value. Caitlin with the question, Brait or OJ? You had mentioned it before. Let's talk about it again a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to go with OJ. I mean, that's the reason he was the second runner-up for the Guesstimator, because people are picking up Brait. But I think OJ is the play. If they're going to use a tight end all over the field in between the 20s and in the red zone, I think OJ fits the bill on both. Brait is just the red zone guy. I mean, Brait will probably score a touchdown. You'll be like, Guess, you're an idiot. Why do I listen to you? But that's all Brait's going to do for you. They're going to use him when they're inside the 10-yard line to get open, because people are like, who's going to guard that guy? And they're like, I'm not going to guard him. Look at him.
Look at him. Darko, who to flex? Carter, Gainwell, Osborne, Cephas, Matson, or Callaway?
I said I feel like Osborne's going to have a day today. I feel like they're going to have to use him. Extra attention is going to go to Jefferson and Thielen. Osborne down week last week, pops back to the surface this week. Callaway's a close second. I got to see more consistency out of Cephas before I start him over either one of those two at this point. And while I like Carter and I feel like Gainwell should be more used today, Madison, I think, Madison is just when Cook's not there, even though he's going to get some burn. I got to go with Osborne number 1, Callaway number 2.
I would agree with that. All right, John with the question. I lost Chark. Is Judy worth a pickup off waivers for week 7 or too early? Chark was my 4 or 5 wide receiver.
Yeah, man. Drop Chark, pick up Judy. Easy.
That's what I would do.
You have one coming back maybe week 7. You have one never coming back.
Sean with the question. Damian Harris, Drake, or Josh Reynolds? No, I'm just joking.
You got to go Harris. They get close, they're going to give it to him to pound it in. It's going to be ugly, but the way that Drake is being underutilized by this team, and with Jacobs probably 50-50 at worst, Peyton Barber last week, I mean, Drake could show up and have a huge game, just like I thought he would, but Harris is just safer.
In these weeks where there's no buys, you still, like Guess had said in the beginning, you still want to kind of go with these guys before the ancillary. Don't get me wrong, Drake's not an ancillary, but the fact that you're going to be a 3-headed monster there, where Damian Harris, is going to at least get a majority of what we're seeing, even though the Guesstimator, J.J. Taylor, will see some love. We think that, Damian Harris, for me at least, is still somebody you have to go with.
Yeah.
Tony, Mooney, or Callaway? Good question, Darko.
I like Callaway, but I'm going to go with Tony. I think, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And he was squeaky a couple weeks ago, and now he's forced into much more action. I'm going to go with Tony.
I'm not going to answer this question. I just think they're all so close. It's all going to be dependent on kind of like what Guess was saying. You have Winston who's throwing it to Callaway, who's you think would be a good play. You have Mooney who has Justin Fields, but he's banged up. Tony should get the love, but you got Galladay and Ingram still there. It's just so close between those three, but I guess I'll go with Guess here and go Tony as well. Alan, with drafted Kelsey in the first round in most leagues, looks like it was the best decision. Yeah, I mean, you're getting a wide receiver there. I mean, you're getting a wide receiver 1, and then still having the potential of picking up multiple wide receiver 1s in the next coming rounds.
You're getting a tight end position filled, and you're getting those points, and then you're getting a 4th wide receiver is what you're getting. Travis Kelce is 2 players on your roster. You're playing with 10. Everybody else is playing with 9.
Preach. Daniel Jones isn't the problem. Management has not addressed the offensive line, completely screwing Daniel and Barkley. You're 100% right, man. But everybody pays attention to the quarterback. They don't pay attention to the offensive line.
Yeah, I agree with you. Daniel Jones is not the problem. But Daniel Jones looked lackluster at points where they could have put that game away last week. But I don't think they should go away from Daniel Jones. I agreed and said, yes, they're going to draft a quarterback because that's what they're going to do. But I agree with you. He's not the problem. They have more than one problem. The whole team fell asleep far too much last week. He's not. That's the way it goes. A lot of times it's not the quarterback's problem, but they just draft another one. And then it's like, well, that sucks.
Let's just do it one more time for Sean.
Josh Reynolds.
All right, what's going on there, Nick? Thielen, Cooper, and Mike Williams. Start 2.
Mike Williams for sure. I'm tempted to say Thielen. I think the week 4 is not too late in the season to end his hot streak.
I love Thielen. I'm probably going to go with Thielen and Cooper. I think Mike Williams has been trending way too high. Don't get me wrong. He's been playing outstanding. He's still Mike Williams, in my opinion, where there could be a little tweak to something, and then he's out the whole game for you. I love that I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but Mike Williams for me is still, maybe it's just some bad memories of having him on my teams and just being so disappointed in so many ways.
That thought process is 100% understandable, but what you also have to remember is they have a new offensive coordinator, coach.
Very true.
And he plays the X receiver, which is in years and years past the most productive position on the field for that offense. And that's why you're seeing Mike Williams. The problem with Mike Williams was not only the coaching and how they used him, but also his inability to stay healthy. They're using him 100% correctly. So as long as he stays healthy, for me, he's a must start. But we'll see. We'll see, Nick.
I would go Williams, against the same.
Thielen. Well, no, I say Williams, Thielen. He says Thielen, Cooper. Sometimes Rob's right and I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm right and he's wrong. You got to go with your gut. All of you need to go with your gut. We're going to give our opinion, and we go from there.
All right, Antonio with the question: Broncos or Titans?
Broncos. I know the Titans. I know it seems like, oh my God, how could I play the Broncos versus Lamar? They're just such a better defense. They have so many more playmakers. And I know the Titans are playing the Jets, but I feel like this is like the same exact type of thing that I said on Tuesday about everybody going out to get the Titans because they're playing the Jets. Everybody going out to get the Bengals because they're playing Jacksonville. And I said, pump your brakes a little bit. Jacksonville will be able to move the ball against Cincinnati. They did. The Jets will be able to move the ball against the Titans. They will. And that's not to say the Ravens aren't going to move the ball. They just have more playmakers.
All right, Sean with the question: Elijah Moore or Sammy Watkins?
God, I don't like Sammy Watkins at all. So it's like Elijah Moore. Like, Sean, that's really the best you got? Let's go with Moore. They're playing the worst secondary in the league, which is also why I'm not a fan of the Titans today. Everybody picked them up. Elijah Moore.
All right, Jeremy was mentioning I'm going to start Green Bay defense in ABG League. Who are you playing? You're not playing against us this week, are you? Sermon or AB in the flex?
You gotta play Sermon. Going against the Seattle rush defense, no Elijah Mitchell. You gotta play Sermon. You have to.
Nick with Max Williams, my sneaky start in DraftKings.
Could be. Had a good game 2 weeks ago, not so much last week.
All right, Charlie with a question: Harris or J.J. Taylor?
Yeah, that's a good one. Harris is safer. J.J. Taylor sexier. How do you feel on Sunday morning? You want to have a safe day or a sexy day? Because sometimes Sometimes when you're sexy, you wind up in the gutter. Just saying.
For me, I would go Harris. Don't get me wrong. I think the guesstimator could show up based on what I read and what I saw when I didn't know who the heck he was to a certain degree. James White Jr. is a perfect way to describe him, I think. Go with your gut. I always like to look sexy in the mornings on Sundays.
Elijah Moore's out, Sean just said. Yeah, you look very sexy. I don't look sexy at all. I just roll out of bed.
Elijah Moore's out. All right.
Renfro.
Thanks for the info. I bet Mac Jones 260 plus. That's not a bad take, man. They have to throw the ball. They're going to have to keep up with the offense. So Chargers 100% and Chargers fan, so I'm biased. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. Nick's going to be rooting for the Raiders. Caleb with another question. Evan Ingram or O.J. Howard? That's a good one.
You got to go Evan Ingram. And just because they're down so many playmakers and the Bucs have so many playmakers. So I would go Evan Ingram. Just hope he makes it through the whole game healthy. That's all.
All right, Nick with another question. Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, Debo, Cooks, CEH. Start 2.
Brandon Cooks is enticing here. I'm going to go Deontay and CEH.
Yeah. I would probably do the same just from target share, and it's a running back. I agree.
I mean, it's always hard to sit somebody like Mike Evans, but you got so many weapons there, and I think CEH is going to hit that upward trend, and Deontay's back. That's Big Ben's guy. He could have 15 targets today.
Debo would be kind of close for me as well, just because they're going against Seattle.
Yeah, he's got some good players there.
Sutton. I'm sorry, Matt with the question. Sutton, Hunt, Woods, Hubbard need 2 PPR.
Hunt is someone that you might automatically say, oh my God, his game last week. Oh my God, I got to play him. And I'm going to go with Sutton and Woods because I feel like this is finally going to be the Woods. And I'm not benching Sutton, especially in PPR. Sutton and Woods.
All right. Next one here, Kalen Olsen, OBJ or Sutton?
You son of a mother. I just said I'm not benching Sutton. I'm going OBJ. I think he's going to get a big touchdown today. Play action or something, or just a post or a straight down the field. I see Odell scoring a big touchdown today. And Barkley or Hubbard, I'm going Barkley. I'm going Barkley
as well. It's the full volume. OBJ and Sutton is it's a flip a coin. I think you can't go wrong with either, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Darko, Crowder, Osborne, Galloway, Gainwell, Cephas, JJ Taylor need 2.
God. Crowder's first game back. Will he make it through? He's a PPR monster. I think Osborne has a good day today. No Elijah Moore, though, for Crowder. Callaway. Nobody loves Callaway as much as me. Gainwell, there's too many there. Cephas, can't trust him. JJ Taylor is the guesstimator. I would probably go Crowder and Osborne. But
yeah.
But real close would be Taylor and Callaway. Gainwell and Cephas, I'm not this week. I like them to do something, but not over the rest of them. But I'm probably going to go Crowder and Osborne. I mean, Crowder's playing Elijah Moore's not, so that's why I'm putting him in. And Osborne, I think Osborne's going to have a day today. Again, I kind of want to slide J.J. Taylor in for you, Darko, but I feel like you just go a little bit safer just in case. Because there is Ramondre Stevenson there, and who knows if they do what I say, and with Brandon Bolden, just keep him on the special team. So I think J.J. Taylor is somebody to pick up. I'm glad you have him. Put him on your bench. That's sort of what the guesstimator is as well, right? It's This is somebody that's outside the box that nobody's going after that I think is going to have a big game, but really I'm just telling you to pick them up before somebody else does. That's kind of what J.J. Taylor is. So I'm going to go Crowder and Osborne.
All right. Kalen says that was a great answer for the tight end question that he had for Brait and OJ. John, you are welcome, sir. Any concerns with Sutton versus Baltimore?
No, not really. Their secondary's been.
All right. Antonio Gibson, Miles Sanders, Jacoby Myers, Galladay, Damian Harris. Bench 2.
Yeah, I know Gibson's hurt, but I can't bench him. Sanders, I feel like they get him going. They have to. Gosh. I think with Harry coming back and them having to check down a little more, I would be okay benching Myers. I think I would bench Myers and Harris. Because Harris going against the best rush defense.
That's a tough question, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to kind of go with the Pats offense just because what happens if they don't show up, if Tampa just destroys them? And that's, I guess, the biggest thing. Does Brady put it on Belichick almost in a way? That I think the other games you have a lot more potential in. Don't get me wrong. I think Patriots try to show up and do show up to a certain extent, but I would agree with that. Josue with the question, Tim Patrick or Ayuk, half-point PPR?
Oh, man. I know you probably go Ayuk. Right, Rob?
Yes and no. I like Ayuk as a trending up. I don't think he needed as much today. I think they're really going to stick to the run game, and Debo's going to be the guy. Tim Patrick's going to need the love. I mean, Denver is going to have to put up points against the Ravens. I think Lamar is going to finally, if he's healthy enough, be looking to score the ball, especially after a tough game last week.
That's how I think. I'm going Patrick. I think they'll be able to run all over Seattle and use everybody.
All right. Thanks for the update with Moore is out. I guess he's not going to be catching a big touchdown. Maybe it'd be Braxton Berrios, who he likes to love to go to as well, Zach Wilson. So Watkins or Renfro?
Renfro.
All right. Antonio with another one. Woods or Galladay?
I like Woods to show up today and come through, but I'm going to go with Galladay because he's the best one available for Vanilla Vic.
All right. Michael with the question, Fournette or Ayuk in the flex?
Gosh. I'm not a Fournette guy, so I'm biased. Ayuk.
All right. Nick with the question, would you give it a thought, Cousins over Lamar Jackson?
Lamar's a little banged up going against a very tough defense, Mile High. Cousins versus a tough defense, but he's at home. He's got a lot of weapons. I would not be against it. I would not be against Cousins over Lamar.
All right. Darko, Henderson or Patterson?
Cordarrelle. I'm going to play Cordarrelle Patterson.
I probably would do the same. Is Lamar or Herbert?
Herbert.
Yeah, you take some Monday night action, man. Lockett or Patterson? Lockett seems to be playing.
I'm going to go with Patterson.
Okay.
I think they get Mike Davis involved today, but Patterson can slide into a wide receiver spot. They need a second wide receiver. He's been doing it. Lockett is still the one-trick pony. And showed last week he's a little banged up. You go with Patterson.
All right, Nick with the question, Broncos or Cowboys defense?
I love the Cowboys defense this week. Said it on Tuesday, playing them where I can. So, although I've said the Broncos all over the place today, I probably will say let's take a shot with that Cowboys D. I think that they get after Darnold. Go for it.
One fumble, one interception. I wrote it down. I'm going to go Cowboys too, just because you don't know what this offense is going to look like with CMC, especially if they could take DJ Moore out of it. It makes their playmakers a little bit less lovable. So I can see them going after Darnold pretty much. Oops, that should have been said Lockett or Patrick for Darko, not Patterson.
I'll go Patrick.
All right. Appreciate you too, man. We do this for you guys. All right. Antonio with another one here. Lamar or Cousins, that was asked before as well. I'm sorry, Lamar or Cousins, not that it was Lamar or Herbert before.
I'll go with Cousins. I don't think Lamar gets stifled. He's a little hurt. It's going to slow him down a little bit. Super tough defense, mile high. Cousins at home with a ton of weapons. Tough defense, but I think it's going to be a little more. They're going to move the ball quite a bit. I do think there's going to be a bunch of field goals in Minnesota, but I'm going to go with Cousins. He's been hot, right?
All right. DJ Moore or Corey Davis, Josh wants to know.
I'm going to go with Corey Davis. I think that DJ Moore's going to be a fine volume play. He's looked amazing. He's like a must-start guy. But the fact that you're asking the question, and I would imagine the question is who do you think is going to score more points today? I think Corey Davis is going to score more points than DJ Moore. Go with your gut.
All right, Nick, you were right. I just asked. Oh, yes. Okay, so you did ask the Lamar and Cousins question. Yeah, I mean, Cousins is just a good volume. I mean, he's looked good over these first 3 games, even though they haven't won, I think, 2 out of the 3. But still, they've put up offense, and now that Cook's coming back, that relieves him a little bit more. He can even be more accurate than what he was prior. DJ being shadowed by Trayvon Diggs. No thanks. Excellent call, Nick. Excellent call. I agree. Let's see. Anything else there, guys? John with a question. Barkley or Hines, PPR?
Barkley.
Yeah, I would take the volume with Barkley. He's 3 down back. Guess, anything else there, sir?
No, nothing. Best of luck. It's 12:10. When I head upstairs, I'm going to be very, very busy helping my wife. So she can leave the house, do a couple of things she needs to do. So if I can't answer any questions, I'm very sorry. Antonio, we said Cordarrelle Patterson over Hubbard.
All right. Guys, always remember, like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Best of luck. Answers by guess, week 4. See you on Tuesday.
See you, everybody.